Lucy! It's nice. They like it. I feel like it's important to reconnect with Mother Gaia. You know, feel that she appreciates that. And granted, I'm inside in her house. Spirit hears it, you know. That's the other cool thing about awakening and starting to kind of step into your gifts and the potential of the human being, right? Which, how cool is that? But you start to see all the signs and synchronicities and the way that the universe will actually speak, you know? And some will call it coincidence, but when it starts happening more times than, you know, you start to recognize the interconnectedness of all things and that there is a higher power that does speak to us, speaks to all of us, but can you quiet your mind and yourself enough to recognize it and to see it? You know, and that's the thing, some people will believe, some won't. Eventually we'll all get there, you know. The more of us, I feel, that go through this awakening process and start to have the eyes to see and the courage to speak and the ears to hear, the more we will be able to turn and to assist others in seeing and hearing and feeling that way as well, you know. We're at such a cool place in our species evolution right now where, you know, this global awakening is happening and people are going through this process and some don't even recognize or realize that that's what they're going through, you know, depending on your circumstances and what I feel like, you know, you're at the age of the soul, not the age, you just mean like when you meet an old soul, you know, you can recognize it, you can feel it. And not that old soul, young soul, one's better than the other, it's just different soul journeys, you know. Some of us have incarnated more times than others, I feel. And hi, Kitty. Hello. Good morning. I've become super weird since going through my awakening. But, you know, it's a good thing. I'm meeting my soul, you know. I'm truly healing and recognizing the energy that I carry and getting to make friends with my soul, you know. Which, how do you truly connect to Source, to God, to the Most High, to the universe, unless you're connected to your soul? That's the thing about going through a lot of trauma, right? You gotta recognize and understand like what soul loss is, you know. And some people don't even know to research that, which is why I'm grateful. I want to say first for the fact that I've been able to sit and to study and to research long enough to kind of to find these things. And then there's others that are doing this as well, you know, and starting to recognize that we need a path to healing, to true healing. And how do you heal without addressing the spirit, you know? And then realizing that we come from it and we go back to it, so we might as well What's up, dude? Ma'am, sir, ma'am, sir. Yeah, too, that's why it's important to know thyself. You know, it's such a difficult thing to do. People, we all feel that we know who we are, but how many of us have truly sat long enough to don't hop up, up. You can get your mom. Oh, get your mom. It's been an interesting journey, to say the least. That's putting it mildly. Hi, kitty. Hey! Excuse me! Excuse me! You good? You alright? No? Are you sure? I got a new kitty. Named Obsidian. Good for transmuting negative energies. Call her Obi-Wan for short. There's a joke. There was a dual part to that statement. Sometimes I'll say things and I don't really know why I'm saying them until after. Like there was a joke in there, but I feel like they're to assist people kind of going through this awakening too is because I realized stepping into gifts, clarity, reconnecting, again with spirit. Not everybody. I'm still learning to discern the energy when they come up. This is kind of a new thing for some. Well, again, not because anybody was wrong, but because we've been a little distracted from the potential of the human being and what we're actually capable of when we bring the material and the spiritual back together. We've been a little misguided for a long time, so me stepping out of the status quo and the social norm to suppress and to medicate or to numb or to whatever, and to really sit to know thyself and to wake up and realize that yes, I am not only emotionally sensitive but sensitive in many ways, and that it wasn't an quote unquote illness, it was a gift from the heavens that I'm now stepping into to recognize. And again, not because anybody was wrong, but because of the society we were misguided for a long time. And now we're starting to wake up, and there's those of us that will wake up first, step into these gifts, and then turn around to guide and to teach humanity how to do the same. Going through this process initially, when it first started, it was very intimidating for me. I had always known that I had had gifts. Not to this extent. I too, for a long time, allowed myself to believe that there was something wrong with me because of the fact that I was sensitive and I could recognize or see things that others couldn't, or I would challenge the status quo, or I would question authority, not because I wanted to learn. I wanted to understand. There's many that can say, this is how you do it, but then they won't say why. Or if they do, it's a half-hearted answer or a response, which is really typically a projection of their inability to step outside their own comfort zone when faced with somebody that's all they want to do, because they're a free spirit and a sovereign soul. Let the energy just flow. It was very intimidating when it started. Intimidating is not the right word. Overwhelming is more accurate. I feel it was because I didn't really understand yet what was happening, and now I recognize that I'm a clear channel, and I hear the way that I speak. I'm a clear channel for the divine, and that's a recognize that that's the human potential. It is available to everyone and anyone that wants to learn how. It is literally a gift from the heavens that everybody is available to everyone that wants to learn. But it truly takes knowing thyself to commune and connect with Source personally. Which we all do to a certain extent, but it's ever. It created the universe itself, and we're just down here on planet Earth, so it's like there's so much more to go. Just getting started. And that's part of that limiting belief that we've had for so long, is that we know that what is, and then it's like, oh no, we don't. We've been sleeping. Oh, we forgot to address the pineal gland. And not just that, our chakras. Some people don't even recognize that there's the energy centers in the body. And Spirit wants me to be very clear and precise about how I say that. Confirmation. I would like to help guide and to teach people to learn about stuff like that, and to know how important it is for the body and the true healing. And I mean, it's out there. People know these things, But I look forward to the day where it's more of a open discussion with people, and recognizing that it's because of, I feel, because of the fact that we've been sleeping for so long, or unaware to the true potential of the soul, and we're healed, and the kind of congestion that can put into the chakras. I mean, that's part of what makes the healing process so difficult, right? And most beneficial for people to understand and to recognize. Sometimes the thought will come and trail off, and then recognize that that's spirit like, not yet. Trying to learn to have the courage to speak to, even though right now I'm just doing, therapy, self and soul, having a conversation. But you recognize, like, the wounding, right? That goes back generations, all the way to our ancestors, that persecution, wounded wound, wounded wound. I mean, technically, yes, essentially, the wounded warrior, right? possible level, but there's many that don't even recognize that it's a thing. And how do you truly heal when you're unaware that that wounding needs to be healed, not just within one person's self, but in the collective as a whole? Lost my vape. Hey, hello. Where'd you go, buddy? There it is. Been studying a lot and researching and trying to write. This was not even on. Oh, well, that's good. I feel that maybe part of what was so intimidating for me to even just to sit here and do like my own therapy even, right? What will people think? And then you kind of get to a point like, who cares? Because you realize when you start to go through an awakening that we have these gifts accessible to us when we begin to heal. And that always looks a little bananas to the norm, right? It's somebody that I really enjoyed learning from, watching videos and whatnot, and that is Carl Jung. And he went through a very difficult awakening process as well. And that's kind of what I've been going through. Not even kind of, that's very much what I've been going through now for the last couple of years, really. It's been more intense for like the last year. I'm really having to sit with myself and I mean, the nightmares get intense, the dreams get intense. I was having visions even, and those are vastly different from the dreams and all of that. And the reason that I could tell is because of the love that I would feel. I would feel this. There's no words for it. It's like I was being transported to another place, and the love that I would feel from the energy that was present was something that you can't mistake that for anything else but a higher power. And I don't want to say it's irrelevant what other people think about that, because it's not. To me, it's very important. But I recognize and I understand that going through those experiences wants me to be clear in the way I say it so that it's after explain. I get a little nervous sometimes, because you realize that, like, you're present with a higher power, and you're like, oh, buddy, hello. Well, humility and whatnot, right? It's important. Something I've been working on, And that's why it's important too to sit and know thyself. What is it that you really want? And like my goal now that I've I have woken up, and there's a slight difference between being woke and awake. And I gotta be careful how I say that too, However, like, I also understand that when I'm making things like this, if I post it, what's your bread of life? There's people that won't even come across these videos because they're not on that frequency to even, want to look to find them. And that's okay, it just means they're on a different soul journey, They're just on a different kind of part of their soul's journey. What I would like to work on is getting through this process, and then hopefully, with some hope and some faith, I will be able to travel and meet, other guides and gurus and teachers that can assist me in this process, and not just me, others going through it too. There's people going through this beautiful awakening right now, and how amazing that is. How blessed we are as a species to be able to be stepping into another part of our species evolution, bringing the material and the spiritual back together without that illusion of fear, starting to overcome that and to see that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that there's truly nothing that we should be afraid of with that. I feel like I need to be mindful how I say that. It should be respected. That's why I feel that there's spiritual testing. It's always in place. No matter, the belief system, I feel. Because with great wisdom comes great responsibility. With great gifts comes great responsibility. And I feel that obstacles and things get put in our way to see what is the character of your soul. What is the quality of your soul? Who are you? You know, what energies, characteristics, personality traits do you choose to embody? How willing are you to step outside of your comfort zone and to get over the illusion of fear, to see that, to understand the potential of the soul and the human being? There's more to elaborate on that. Well, that's why spiritual gifts, I feel, are not just bestowed on anybody and everybody, because what will you use it for? What is your reason and intention for wanting these gifts? And is it for the betterment, not only to heal yourself, but to then turn around and assist the collective in doing the same? And that's why some that maybe don't. That's why it's important for these things to be earned. And why Spirit will give us challenges all throughout our life to understand that the a soul's integrity. Are you a good soul? Will you use these gifts for the highest good of all? Will you sit long enough with Source and have true faith? And understand and remember that these things are available if earned properly, through dignity and integrity and grace and honor and respect and loyalty, especially for the spirit, for the soul. Conversations between self and soul. It's like spiritual 101. Well, on a good note, that means that we can potentially start turning our beautiful planet back into a school. It's always been a school. It's been a little more dense for some of us than for others. Simply because we were on different parts of our soul journey. Some of us chose to descend into matter from our light bodies, which creates a more dense experience. It's why some of us that carry more empathy and emotional sensitivities, it feels a little more dense. But also because it's the path that we chose to walk, which may not always look very beautiful in the physical and can be, judged by others as being by others. But when you recognize on a soul level what all of the lessons were for and the character that was building within the soul and who you've come out the other side to be, and it's a choice. When I started to initially channeled a message, it said I ran the gauntlet. I didn't quite understand what it meant at the time. I had to sit and know thyself to fully grasp what I was being told and to understand it on the deepest levels. And it's because I went through all kinds of the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, and sexual abuse that there is. I won't say it that way, that was improper way to verbalize that. all of those things, and I still came out with grace, love, and compassion within myself. And still with the desire to turn around and assist and help others to get through those things. Because I'm not the only person that's faced those things in my life, and I recognize now, looking back, that the reason that I went through all those things is to have that experience. So when I turn around and tell somebody that I'd like to help, it's coming from a place of I walked it, I've been to the fire, and I got out, and so can you. And I'm grateful for that today now. It takes more courage, strength, and resilience to go through that kind of life and to still come out with such a beautiful heart. It's not easy. It takes courage to be the light, because the light hurts, especially the one who carries it. Because we feel everything. I feel that's what it means to be an earth angel. I don't even feel like I did. It's a blessing and a burden. I don't even like to say burden now. I understand what I mean, obviously, because you said it there, so. But, it truly is a blessing. At times can feel burdensome, just because it's heavy, but then you realize, well, because you're down here in the 3D, silly girl, goose, buddy. Well, that's a dense experience, because it's the 3D, so, you know. And when your consciousness level, or your soul, which is the other souls in the heart, potentially comes from higher dimensions, then when you come down here in the 3D, it feels very heavy. Well, because we absorb a lot of things for those more dense energies. I say for, but it's because of. No, I mean, we teach one another all the time. Light and darkness is always teaching one another. It's a beautiful. It's a beautiful dance between the two energies that are typically always seeking balance with one another. Right, and I feel that the goal, for me anyway, in this lifetime, was seeking that ascended master status, you know? And what a beautiful goal that is to have. And I feel too, like for me, that was why I had a business and I did so well for so long, and I made it look very pretty on the outside, but on the inside I was a complete mess. And I feel that the reason why was because I had yet to awaken and recognize that my purpose in this lifetime for myself was to come into this life and achieve that ascended master status. And I wasn't doing that because I was too busy at the time listening to the world tell me what and who I was. And then it was like my higher power stepped in and said, hey, time to remember. So that's what I'm doing. Working on it anyway. Process. We're ever evolving, you know? And sometimes like I have to sit too, because I've been in this place of solitude for like over a decade now. And then for the last year I was just told like sit, meditate, quiet, and just remember, you know? And so that's what I've been doing. And just very sensitive to energies. And then I recognize like when that happens, I'm supposed to question and ask like, why do I feel that energy right now? I'm gonna try and start recording more of this process, you know. So people can see what it looks like, you know. Confirmation. I've been a little intimidated by that, and I feel like I need to ask Spirit for forgiveness and also to say thank you for giving me, for having patience as I got through this process. I feel like I woke up very quickly, and it's a bit overwhelming. And too, like I woke up so quickly to many things, really, and got so much going on up here, you know. And I want to really speak about it. I feel it's important for me to speak about it because when you start to awaken, the purpose of that is to turn around and to assist others in doing the same. So I'm working on having the courage to speak so that I can get through this, so that I can offer that to other people, and to also find other people that are going through this as well, because I'm aware I'm not the only one. Cool is it too that like going through this process I recognize and being aware that other people are going through it too, that we are finally bringing the material and the spiritual back together, you know, and what a beautiful thing that is. And not everybody will understand it, but that's okay. The more of us that start to awaken and step into these gifts, we will have the opportunity to show what is possible. And it requires healing, healing thyself. And that's why, like, when I first started to go through this, I felt a bit guilty for the fact that, and that's not the right way to say it, when you start to awaken, I've always felt pulled to assist and to help other people. And although I had always been attempting to do that because my intentions were always to help, my reason was not in alignment yet with truth because I was unhealed. So I was unable to see that the reason I was doing it was actually enabling those people rather than helping those people, because I was yet ready to sit to know myself, to heal myself, and to love myself properly, to then turn around and have my reasons be in alignment with my intentions to help for the highest good. And part of the difficult transition to going through this is recognizing there are many people that do not understand me now, and that's okay. It's a different path that you follow when you choose the spiritual path, and you recognize that most people choose the material path, and that's okay because that's their journey, But when you choose the spiritual path, it's I want to say few and far between, but I feel like Spirit doesn't want me using that term because it may give off the impression of setting a limit when really this is available to everybody if they so choose to step into their spiritual nature rather than, the material nature. So Spirit likes to assist me in saying things more clearly and in a way that is most beneficial for them, more beneficial for the most amount of people. And it can be a little lonely. I guess I don't want to say, I'd rather be, by myself and lonely than with a whole crowd of people that are, and then feel lonely, because that doesn't feel good. And technically I'm not really alone, because Spirit's amazing. So many things I want to discuss and talk about. And I pray for the strength to continue to do this, and for the courage to speak, and to speak truth. It's needed today, Not just for self, but for the collective, Like, as a whole, we need healing so badly. it's like, what happened, right? How did we get here? How do we get in a place where there's so many people that feel lost or forgotten, and again, I don't want to say it's because anybody was wrong. We just weren't at this point yet in our species evolution to recognize that, changing that that perspective, the lens in which we look at mental health through, for many years, for a long time, we looked at anything that was different than the norm as illness, quote unquote. And we would do that before asking, is this potentially evolution? And again, not because anybody was wrong, I feel we weren't yet awake. And it's like, thank the heavens that there's those of us that are going through this process now that are actually waking up to the soul and being able to see these things and to recognize these things and to turn around and be like, hey guys, hello. Oh, forgive me. I just, oh boy. I think one of the coolest things too is that when you go through this awakening process, and you start to understand energy and the way that you feel it, and what helps you recognize who and what you are too is that you can feel the energy kind of reverberate off the body, and you recognize that we have halos. And how cool that is. And it's available to everybody, which is the best part. It must be earned through integrity and honesty and dignity and loyalty and respect for all beings. That I can, when things resonate with my soul, I will feel the energy. Like my whole cranium lights up. That's what the halo is. And it's really cool to feel. And also when you recognize that that's what it is, you're like, oh man. Like I say that with, excitement, how cool it is to know and to recognize that you can be here in a physical, a human being, and literally feel your halo. And it's like there's moments in my life where I had felt that I hadn't put it together that that's what it was. When I started to go through the awakening, it would happen more often and more energy, and it just hit me. I was like, that's my halo. And you see it in history to see the angels and mystics, and with the energy that radiates around their head and their vessels, and ancient days when you would see the stars, and that's what they were feeling. I cry because I'm so grateful. I pray for the silence or for the Lord person that everybody's kept safely. I do that all the time now, because it's a good thing to do. It's nice to pray. I want to work on helping other people to feel their halos, And I feel that people do, and they don't even realize that that's what they're feeling, So I'm sure the picture is like just a ring around the head. That's not, it is, but it's like this way. It's intuition is what it is. And it's learning how to read the energy signals from the body that, is like, hey, what are you feeling right now? Why are you feeling it? That's why it's important to ask those questions and to understand the things that we're feeling. And when we start to balance ourselves back out and to clear out the chakras and fix the polarity issues that we have within the body, because we all have a magnetic field the same way the planet does, people do. And there's many that don't even know that that's a thing. And it is. And when you start to correct it, you can start to earn and to awaken those energy centers again, and you start to feel your halo. And it's really beautiful. Things will come up as I'm going through the awakening, and beliefs and things that I'm challenging internally, but I feel not appropriate to yet speak about or to voice, because they may just be opinion and important for me to get through this process because I realize that when you go through an awakening, especially after you've been through a really difficult life, that it is a calling from a higher power, and I really want to make that higher power proud. I want my higher power to be able to see in me that I was able to go through all of life's challenges and still come out as a good soul, a good heart, a really beautiful mind that carries really wonderful spirit, able to speak with purpose and to transmute my pain into purpose and turn that into a passion. Back and edit these videos because I'm aware that I just sit there sometimes and think,